gonna swim, bike, and run in the corner sun. We're gonna swim, bike, and run in the corner sun. 2021.
Thank you, Poncho Man. My name is Bob Babbitt. This is Breakfast with Bob, not quite Kona edition. We are brought to you by Challenge North America, Hoka One Credo Tri, Amp Human, VeloFix, Four Seasons Koala Lie, Form Goggles, UCAN, Canyon Bikes, and of course our Challenge Athletes Foundation. Right before COVID, we sent out 3,921 grants totaling $5.9 million to challenge athletes in the game of life through sport. Our next guest, someone we have not had a chance to chat with for a long, long time. She just ran the second fastest marathon for an American woman in history. On December 20th, she ran 2:20:32. Her name is Sara Hall. Sara, how are you doing?
Hi, doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks so much. When I look back at, when Ryan got into marathon, did you ever think that you would be doing that?
I always thought I would want to run a marathon or two and try it out, but I didn't really see it being my best event. That definitely surprised me.
Yeah. And but I look at your progression, you made the marathon debut in 15, you went 2:48 at LA, and then you go through 31 at Chicago. I just love how you go 2:31, then 2:30, then 2:28 and 2:27 and 2:26 and 2:22 in October, and then 2:20. How hard was it to be patient and not go for all of it at one time, but just understand that it's increment. If you really want to be great at this, it is incremental.
For sure. Yeah. I think my first, obviously my first marathon was a bit of an outlier. That could have been 3:48 by the end of that one, the way I was running. But yeah, after that, I feel like each one of those marathons early on, like I kind of went out a little faster, a little over my head. I ran what I thought I could handle, but really the marathon is so much about not just the cardiovascular fitness, but the pounding on the legs.
Yes.
And I feel like coming from the track, that took me a long time to get my legs durable enough to be able to run that second half at the same pace. And so yeah, I think, but definitely it was definitely encouraging having those incremental gains. And I think that just gets really addicting where you're improving and it's you just want to keep improving. You want to keep seeing how far you can take it. And so yeah, I'm really kind of shocked I've been able to keep improving at 37, but definitely plan to keep getting faster if I can.
So 2016 Olympic marathon trials, you DNF there. And sometimes when you have those type of days, you maybe learn more from those than you do from some of the great races. What did you take away from that experience?
Yeah, the biggest takeaway there, I mean, unfortunately, the two times I've run the marathon trials, it was like the most extreme situation. So in 2016, yeah, we had the extreme heat, and that definitely has been a weakness of mine. And so I got cramps out there in the race, which I actually got in my very first marathon, also in LA, also really hot. So I think the moral of the story is don't race in a marathon in LA, but at least for me. But yeah, I think that was the biggest takeaway. That buildup had actually gone really well. And so that's what prompted me to try to turn it around 13 days later and run World Cross Country after my first marathon. And then I ended up having my best performance ever at a World Cross 19th. And so similar to that, after the trials, I was like, you know what, I've built all this fitness and it's still in me. And so I just kind of regrouped and I ended up running the London Marathon in April after that. And that showed me kind of what my fitness really was without a really extreme day.
So when you go to London and you have a sprint finish and 2:22 and you look so amazing, did you think at that point, okay, I think in 2 months I can run another one of these? I mean, that for most people, that'd be pretty crazy. And I'm going to go faster than I've ever gone before.
Yeah, I think because of that very first marathon, deciding to kind of regroup 13 days later and do World Cross, that kind of opened my mind to the marathon not needing to be like a hard stop necessarily. Like sometimes you want it to be, right? Like you've had a really long year of training and you need that break. But sometimes for me, I've gone into marathons off a short buildup after injury, and like I don't want to take another break. I just took time off for the injury, and so it's kind of allowed me to regroup actually after quite a few of my marathons. And I've each buildup kind of experimented with how to recover better than how much you need to obviously I didn't need to do like an entire new marathon buildup. I had all that in me still,
Right.
from the London buildup, but 11 weeks was enough time for me to recover, kind of go backwards a little bit, and then try to make some gains. And I felt like I was able to do that. I think before the marathon project. So yeah, I think I've taken a lot of risks doing that in the past. So it was kind of usual for me. Actually, it was a little more time than I've had in the past when I've done that. But definitely worth it. I think if anything, 2020 taught us is like you want to take advantage of any for sure opportunity you have,
Yeah.
especially at 37. Like, I don't know when my next marathon's going to be, and so knowing that this one was going to for sure happen, I was like, I can't pass up this opportunity.
So if someone had told you, okay, you just won Foot Locker, the year is 2000, and in 20 years, you're still going to be running at an elite level, I'm guessing you would have been a little surprised.
Yeah, very surprised. As a kid, I dreamed of the Olympics like most kids, but as I got older, I didn't really dream about being a professional athlete for a really long period. Like I really am passionate about justice in developing countries and bringing help to people living in extreme poverty, and so I always thought I would do that right out of college. Just move over to like East Africa and start working over there. And it was really just through prayer. I felt like God was saying, like, you can do more through your running than you can with your own two hands if you were over there doing it. And that's really come to be the case. Ryan and I started the Hall Steps Foundation in 2009.
Yep.
And since then, we've been able to do a number of projects to help people, especially now focused on Ethiopia, where my kids are from. And so that's still the goal, to do that stuff in a hands-on way. I would have never thought here we'd be 15 and a half years later running professionally that whole time, that I'd still be doing it, but I'm enjoying it the most I ever have. And I want to keep going with it for now.
I think the balance is so important. The fact that because what athletes like yourself do for a living can be very selfish, right? You run and you look at your monitor and you log your miles, but when you have a balance where you have a cause and you understand that the more attention I can get for my cause through my running, that's a positive. There's a reason to keep doing this.
Yeah, you understand that with the Challenge Athlete Foundation too. And I think, yeah, for sure, having purpose in your running is huge. I think that's one thing I kind of struggled with early on in my career, was that selfishness, when really what I wanted to do was something really selfless as a career. But increasingly I've been able to see that positive impact on other people, both here in the US, and then also obviously these people that are benefiting from our charities projects. And then now with kids, like, you're able to see so many of the character things you want to instill in your kids. Like, I get to model those to my kids day in and day out, and you see how that impacts them in real time. And so that's kind of added another layer of meaning to my running, and helped me feel like, yeah, there's a lot of time focused on myself, but also you're getting to make positive impacts too.
So you guys start the Hall Steps Foundation in 2009, and creating an instant family where all of a sudden you've got Hana and Mia and Jasmine and Lily. You got 4 girls from the same family all at once. How hard was that, from going, hey, we're a couple, now we're parents with 4 kids?
Yeah, it was difficult. I had talked to a lot of families who had adopted older kids from Ethiopia, and it was really life altering. They were like, yeah, I don't think you're gonna be able to keep competing. We had a very hard adjustment, just because these kids have been through really traumatic things, and like walking that out with them, as well as the fact that, our kids had never been to school. They didn't know any English. And like, so my older teenagers were starting school for the first time, like in high school, having never been to school. And so I was definitely ready for it to be like the end of life as we know it. And, Ryan was at a different stage in his career. He was winding down. And so he was okay with that. But for me, like, I was just starting on the roads and really enjoying the marathon for the first time. I ran Chicago Marathon, which was my second marathon, like the week after the girls came home. And so I was definitely not ready to be done, but I thought I was willing to, if they needed that from me. But thankfully our kids just adjusted really miraculously, and they're really supportive of my career and have allowed me to keep competing and stuff. And it's challenging. I mean, I know what it's like to be really dialed in doing this career as someone without kids, as we did for so long. And it's hard to think about that, my old life, and my competitors are living that way, and that's who you're up against. But I think I try to just focus on the fact that I've been able to improve every year since being a mom. And so it's not ideal for sure for athletics, but it's working for now. And I feel really grateful that my kids are so excited about my career too.
Are your kids running?
We do have a couple of runners. They all definitely have the genes. Like they all have beautiful strides. And our oldest is actually on a scholarship at Grand Canyon University, her freshman year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she was a 2-time state champion. And then our second daughter, Mia, just won state in cross country this fall. And she's just a sophomore in high school, but she's looking really strong as well. And then our younger two are not that interested in cross country, although Jasmine did run a couple low key seasons of cross country and was undefeated. And so she's kind of dabbling right now, as you should as a 7th grader, but we'll see where she ends up.
Now, and now, are you still coached primarily by Ryan?
I am, yeah. Ryan's been coaching me pretty much since he retired. And that's been great. You want your coach to know everything about you, and he sees how I eat and sleep, and he knows what makes me tick. And so, yeah, that's been working out.
Yeah, it's interesting. With Ryan, just seeing, from 2007 and 2011, he ran 9 or 10 marathons, all between 2:04:58 and 2:12. And I was like, that is a lot of high performance over a short period of time. And a lot of times a coach can either sort of follow in their own footsteps, or they look at maybe some mistakes they might have made and they become better because of it. It looks like that Ryan is understanding that just by the gradual nature of your improvement, that he's learned from his own career.
Yeah, we've definitely had very opposite careers. Ryan had immediate success in the marathon.
Yes.
Just knocking it out of the park. And for me, it's taken years and years of really incremental success. And I think part of that is we're wired really differently. For me, the fast twitch, I'm more genetically fast twitch. And building that endurance has taken a long time, whereas that was more natural to him. But yeah, for sure. He definitely learned from his career a lot of things that he implements into my training. Keeping that 10K speed close is one of them. Not getting too lean, which really affected the end of his career as well. A lot of little lessons like that we I feel grateful to have learned from his mistakes.
Exactly. So London Marathon, that was one of the more exciting races to watch. Everybody's there had not been very many races all year. How special was that for you?
Oh, it was huge. I mean, it's the highlight of my career so far, and just so meaningful having it come on the heels of the greatest disappointment in my career, not making the Olympic marathon team, and then going straight into a pandemic where you can't just regroup and start training for the track trials or run other races and use all that fitness you've gained in the marathon buildup. It was like nothing. And you're just self-motivating for months on end, not knowing if you're ever going to have that opportunity. And so to have the opportunity, and just as I approached the race, I just felt like, oh man, it'd be so incredible to have an inspiring race out here and give people a boost at this time when people could really use it. Like everyone's struggling with motivation, and it's just a difficult time for everyone. And so to have the opportunity to have that all come together, to have the race of my life, to get to finish in a really exciting manner, it was just everything I could have hoped for, besides winning the race, really, which was going to be tough with Bridget Koskay and their 2:14 world record holder. So yeah, just so grateful.
One of our sponsors is UCAN, and I've been touting UCAN for forever and ever. There's a great product. Even it seems like people who use it, especially the triathlon guys, have found the success of later in the event. They seem like they still have their strength. And when I look at what you've done the last couple races, has that helped you?
For sure. Yeah. I've started using UCAN midway through my marathon career and definitely, run faster in the second half of my marathons. And I think for me as a human biology major, I really resonated with the scientific nature of the product, how it's a slow releasing carbohydrate and how you don't want to spike your insulin levels at different times. And I think that's something where I really try to use nutrition and use these tools the best you can to optimize your performance. And so I was actually introduced to it by Meb, who is my neighbor up in Mammoth Lakes. And so I feel really grateful that he introduced me to it way back then. And yeah, excited to be a part of the team.
So if the world comes back to normal and we have an Olympics, will you be going to the trials and running the track?
I will. I just signed up for my first track race today, which is kind of surreal. I haven't raced on the track it'll be 5 years in June, July. It was the last track trials that I really probably even ran in spikes. And so
Wow.
it's a bit of a long shot, but you know what, honestly, the strength I built in those last 5 years, I'm a totally different athlete than I was last time I was racing track. The marathons made me really strong, even in my shorter event stuff. And so I'm excited to see what I can do. Hopefully I'll be in the mix and give it my best shot out there.
How have you had to change and adapt to, besides being a mom of four, but as you age, sometimes your workouts have to change. You don't have, your body doesn't quite recover as quickly. How have you adapted to being we'll say, more mature runner?
Yeah, it's funny. I haven't really felt anything negatively about my age as far as my body yet.
Yeah.
I would say the one difference is my metabolism isn't quite as voracious as it was in my 20s. So I have to dial in my nutrition a little bit more, and not eat as much junk as maybe I could get away with then. But besides that, I haven't really noticed, I feel like my body's actually handling the training better than it ever has now. I think some of that, Asics has come out with some great shoes, and I feel like the extra cushion has really helped me absorb all the 130-mile weeks when I'm out there. And so, yeah, I haven't really needed to build an extra recovery yet. I think I'm maybe a bit of a late bloomer, but we'll see as the years tick by. But
Now, I know Ryan has become Mr. Weightlifter. Have you gotten more into weights adding to your training?
yeah, not as much because of Ryan and his passion. Terrence up in Mammoth Lakes, he was really into the weight room, and at the time I wasn't really responding that well to it up there. But that's definitely been something over the years I've added more in as my legs have just been in a better place to be able to handle that. And now that's a big part of my career. Especially, I had a really serious knee injury, ironically, in Kona in 2012. And I
Really?
tripped on. Yeah, I tripped on a lava rock and on a pipe that was sticking out of the ground and sliced my knee on a lava rock, and it cut through my quad tendon and broke my kneecap.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, it's taken me a really long time to get strength back in that leg and get my stride symmetrical again. And so actually the weight room's been really important to that. And I've noticed a big difference just each year I can get my stride back. That's helped my marathons for sure.
So December 20th, 2020, Deena Kastor's record is 2:19:36, and you're less than a minute behind. You're running with pacers. That's a different type of game, right? How difficult is that, running with pacers and trying to figure out exactly what to do, running laps? It's a different race.
Yeah, it's different than real racing. I really hope we can get back to real racing with crowds and an actual course soon. It would
Yeah.
have been a lot more exciting to do that out on the streets of Chicago for sure. But yeah, I mean, on the other hand, we had really amazing weather. The Pacers did an amazing job. That was so ideal to be able to have a scenario like that. It was a great course. And so yeah, there were a lot of great things about the race. I feel so grateful to Josh Cox and for putting on the marathon project going with Ben Rosario. And so yeah, I'm hoping this fall we'll have some real races, and it'll be fun at some point to get to chase that time again. But I feel proud of my effort that day. It was definitely everything I had on the day. But I'd like to be able to keep improving on that time as we go.
So how challenging has it been for your charity in terms of the charities have been hit hard, obviously, by COVID, not being able to put on events and things like that. With Hall Steps, how has that affected what you guys are trying to do?
Yeah, it has in that, like, some of our biggest fundraisers are like the Boston Marathon, and that got canceled unfortunately, and also they're leery to schedule a date now, and so that is hard. We weren't doing as many in-person events outside of the races, so that we weren't as affected, but still I was able to do a great fundraiser through the London Marathon, and we raised money to start a girls' home in Addis Ababa, because there's over 60,000 youth living on the streets just in the capital city of Ethiopia alone. And
Wow.
so those kids are really vulnerable to a number of things out on the streets. And so this home specifically for girls. And obviously that's a cause really close to my heart, because that could have been my kids. Like, they
Absolutely.
could have been homeless. They closed adoption soon after we finished the process. And so yeah, so all in all, I'm thankful that people were so supportive of that fundraiser, and we're just continuing to do what we can, for sure.
What I love about being involved with the stuff we do is you see lives changed. I had a mom walked up to me. You'll love this at the Paralympics down in Rio. A mom came up to me at the lobby and she goes, "You probably don't remember this, but my son Desmond received his running leg from you guys 10 years ago, and tomorrow he's running the finals of the 200 meters on the track." Those are the moments
Oh,
that mean so much, right? And I'm sure you have some of those moments where you see, besides your own daughters, where you've seen change that probably would not have happened if it wasn't for you guys. Any specific moments that mean a lot to you?
yeah, absolutely. It's really impactful to go to the hospital we built in Kenya, along with Wesley Career, who's Boston Marathon champion. We built that in his hometown because his brother died of a snake bite, really tragically, but that could have been easily prevented if they had had something close. And so getting to go there and meet all the people in the community that just profusely thanked us for bringing that to the community, it really does hit home. Sometimes when we're over here halfway around the world, you're kind of detached from the impact sometimes. And so
Yeah.
it's been really special to spend more and more time, especially over in Ethiopia. I've just fallen in love with training over there, but then it's also kept that connection to the cause really alive. And it makes me more inspired to do more, to fundraise, to be an advocate for this cause when you're seeing it firsthand more often.
Have your daughters been back since they were adopted?
Yeah, we went back one Christmas break and an entire summer. So that was really awesome. We actually thought about going this winter, but with COVID, we decided to postpone it. But we're really hoping to get back there for a really long period of a couple months as soon as we can.
Love it. Hey, Sarah, thanks for taking time. And I love what you guys are doing. I remember, I think we did a cover shoot with you and Ryan just when you were launching
Yes,
for Competitor Magazine back in '09, just when that was,
yes.
it was like at that point, it was just an idea that you were hoping would catch on. And look at that's 11 years later and everything you've done now. Talk a little bit how many, you built a hospital. What besides building, that's amazing in itself. How many people do you think you've impacted with what you guys have done so far?
Oh, I don't know. I've never really added that up. I know that even before we started the Health Steps Foundation, we were helping bring clean water with World Vision, and I know they estimated that at over 1 million people bringing clean water at one point, which was
Wow.
pretty incredible. And there's still Team World Vision is still doing awesome stuff with that. And yeah, we one thing we're doing a lot is micro lending to especially female business owners, so it helps them be able to start a small business to provide for their own family and bring in an income, and then they repay the loan and that gets paid to someone else so they can start a business. So it's not even a handout, it's like just a hand up to be able to have the seed money to provide for their own family and give them the dignity to do that. And so yeah, I've never really counted it up, but I'll have to do that sometime.
You guys are changing lives every day. There's nothing better than that. Congratulations
Thanks.
on everything you're doing. Give my best to Ryan, and thanks so much for taking time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Bob.
Sarah Hall has been our guest, everybody. Again, Breakfast with Bob, not quite Kona edition. We will catch you next time. See ya.